back since way back. Some of you might have just found us by accident. I'll apologize in advance. You might be first-time offenders, repeat offenders. We have a new offender here who's here for his hazing. Ollie Jefferson, I'm thrilled to have coming to us from his hometown of a very musically rich place on earth, Birmingham, England. Ollie, welcome for your first time here on Drum Talk TV. Thanks for making time.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. It really is.
Really excited to talk about this wonderful album that you've done with Robert Plant and Saving Grace. And the album is called Saving Grace. We're going to show the cover there. Beautiful cover. And folks, I got to tell you, the album sounds exactly like that cover. I mean, that'd be fair to say, right, Ollie?
I think, yeah, you're not too far off. I'd agree. It's definitely a mixture of all sorts of textures, colors, feelings.
Yeah.
It's a journey, that's for sure.
And it's very Americana, very Western sounding. For those who don't know, that aren't familiar with the album yet, because I know you're all going to run out and get it, it has primarily reinterpretations by not just great artists, but I recognize some names that I've heard Robert talk about for the last 55 whatever years I've been following him. Memphis Minnie, Moby Grape, who him and Jimmy used to listen to when they were getting ready to gear up for the first Led Zeppelin album. Blind Willie Johnson, we've heard Robert reference a lot. Hello Anthem, Martha Scanian, I mean, Sarah Siskind, just so many great pieces of work here, and such a great lineup as well. Let's start with that. We've got you on drums. We know about Robert. We've got talk about Sue. Let's start with Susie. Actually, tell us about Susie.
Yeah, well, I mean, Susie, it's a funny one for me because I'm actually married to Susie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough for all my sins.
Nice.
So yeah, we're actually married, which is interesting, but also holds a lot of pros along with it. But no, she's away from the personal, relationship. I mean, musically, I've known her since I was 14 or something like that. So
how sweet.
Pretty much all my life, and especially what I deem my musical life, so, and I always admired her, always on the same circuit, absolutely incredible singer, musician, woman, and she in herself is an inspiration, So
and her last name is pronounced Diane, is that correct?
Deanne. Yeah, Susie Deanne. Yeah,
Susie Deanne. And how nice that you get to experience all of this together too. Not everyone can work together. I work with my wife and it works. There's moments, but not everyone can do that. I've seen it work. I've seen it not work. Seems like it's working for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think because we've lived in the same world, not just physically in the same places and at the same gigs, but musically, from such an early age. So we've kind of got that history there. But we've also worked, because we worked together before this project. We was a gigging band. Susie was the singer. We did all the circuit stuff, the corporate gigs, the weddings, the bars, the clubs, the social clubs. So we got used to this kind of work ethic, and I'm very grateful because we've got a good clear line between what's work, what isn't, and we've developed a way to make it work for us, which is it's been tricky at some points, but you got to work through it sometimes, haven't you?
Yeah. It's one thing to work with someone that you're in a relationship with. It's another thing even still to work with someone that you're in a marriage with, not just a relationship, but you're married. And usually in those cases, you're also, I'll use the word not in a negative way, but confined to existing within the same physical framework at home. So to have that clear line, like you said, is very crucial for people who are in that position, or for people who may end up in that position. What's, from your experience being married with Susie and going through this journey together, what has made it work? What's some wisdom you can share, Ollie, from your experience of what really does make that work?
Man, I don't know if there's one clear cut thing that comes to mind, but I think there's got to be an ability to understand what the intention is, with particular discussions, with what you're trying to achieve together. Are you trying to achieve it professionally, or are you trying to achieve it personally? And I think
Right.
once you've got that clear in your head, the rest of it becomes kind of a peripheral thing. So yeah, we do have, conversations, when nerves kick in or something for Suze, and we give each other the support that we need, but in no other way than that. We'd never cross the line, and it would be in no other way than you would give your closest band members, or when you're
Yeah.
in a group of people together and you're all striving to kind of make something happen. So long as you kind of don't start showing any favoritism, and you keep that head on you, you
Yeah.
kind of manage to work through most things. Well, that's the main thing that I can think of.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
No,
Go
no.
through the rest of the lineup for us, and then I'll talk about the album, ask some questions, then we'll go through your drumming musical journey.
Yeah, okay. That'll be short. But yeah.
Who have you got? Well, I know, but I'm gonna let you kind of like go through them. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the amazing string player who also plays guitar and banjo.
Yeah.
Let's go through them, starting with that gentleman.
Yeah, so obviously you've some incredible players in the group. Very sensitive people and players, but I suppose the guy that you're talking about there is Matt Worley,
Yeah,
the mountain man. That he appears to be, covered in his glorious green man tattoos and his multicolored waistcoats. We nicknamed him the Eastern Pixie, or Susie has.
yeah,
He is just incredible. That he's got an affinity with anything that's got strings and has the ability to resonate. He just seems to pick them up, make
I
them
have a
work.
clip that will show after you go through the band, and I was going to ask you what instrument he's playing this. I'm not sure if it's a mandola or what, but
Okay.
we'll get to that. So
Yeah, yeah.
everybody, stay tuned because we got a couple clips we're going to play. But
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Matt's just really great on those instruments on the album, and then to see these live clips is really a treat as well.
Yeah, well, do you know what's really I find most appealing about him, personally for me, is to see this mountain man looking guy who is the most sensitive person, and he can play the most delicate things, and it's you look at it and you go, this doesn't kind of
Right, it's
collate.
not
Why
congruent,
is
right?
that happening? And yet it is, and it's just so surreal, but beautiful. Yeah, pleasure to play with him.
That's awesome. And then Tony Kelsey, what a
Yes.
great job also with acoustic guitar, electric guitar, also not just vocals on some of the tracks, but baritone guitar as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So yeah, Tony's another guy who just he goes into places that you just wouldn't imagine, and that it's kind of instinctual. It's like an instinct for him. So whereas some people might work their way into this magnificence, through a bit of trial and error, Tony's the opposite way. So he tends to just stumble on the most outrageously perfect
Oh, wow.
thing, and then you know rather than trying to develop it, you're in the room going with Tony going, man, that was it, just keep it as what it was, because you've got it right from the
That's
get-go.
not
you
a
know
lot of takes with this guy.
no, not really, not really. If anything, it's you've just got to say that's enough exploring, you've got it, that bit is just as it needs to be. But that's the wonder of him, is he takes it wherever he feels. Is a brave player, and again another guy that can do all of that soundscape. He can thicken it up, muddy it up. He can add the delicate high end kind of filigree. He's just so versatile. And yeah, I'll go way back with Tony as well. I mean, he was friends with my old man, 'cause my old man was a drummer.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of in the blood, but he was on the circuit, and my old man and Tony crossed paths a few times, and I was glued to my dad's hip going around all these venues in Birmingham, and Tony I used to come across quite often.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. How
Yeah,
nice to converge now on such an amazing project.
absolutely. Yeah, very special.
That's great. And then you got Barney Morse Brown on cello.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, as a drummer, we've, right in the early days of the project, we was without Barney and without that low end. So we approached so many different kind of angles to kind of supply that bottom end without going to the obvious.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of where kind of that started with Tony going on to baritone and things like that to get that the low end and that kind of thickness down there, without it being too percussive, which in the early days for me kind of really forced me into a position with my orchestration and my playing and the way I was approaching the music. It
Did this
I don't
free you
really.
up a bit?
It frees me up massively. I think that's the point that
Yeah.
I suppose I'm trying to get to
That's
is
awesome.
Barney's come along. He's been with us for about a year now, and I mean we'd done bits with him before. He'd come along and track some stuff earlier on a few years ago when we'd started collating these tracks, and eventually we finally got him on board, got him with the live setup, and now there's this whole other element that I can explore because I've got a partner down there with me,
Yeah.
to kind of complement or aid what I've got in my head and vice versa. So that's been a really welcomed addition not from just all of us, but from me in particular. I'm having lots of
That's really neat.
he's not just like a typical cellist. He again, as a way of manipulating the sound of the instrument, he's got a few different pedals and a few tricks up his sleeve, and
That's cool.
he can just create this whirlwind of, for me, inspiration. It's incredible what he can do.
That's awesome. And then you got that singer guy, Robert
Yeah,
Plant. How'd you guys
absolutely.
how'd you find this guy?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something else, isn't it? I mean, how do you surmise it? There's no way. Obviously, growing up where I've grown up, in the circles that I've grown up with, the influence of my dad and my friends and things is, as with pretty much anyone in music, at least kind of the Western music world,
Yeah.
knows him, appreciates him, adores him,
Yeah.
and for all the right reasons. But obviously, actually getting the opportunity to develop a friendship with him, explore, and he's introduced and essentially reawoken the musical world to me, because obviously as the years have rolled on and the music industry's changed, the way we access music and all of this,
Yeah.
as good as it is to have so much at your fingertips, it's equally overwhelming, and so many things. I mean, I can't imagine that I'd have stumbled across this world that he's introduced us to. I mean, I know some of the other members like Matt and that share a lot of that kind of, what's the word? Not scholarly, but that knowledge of
Yeah.
the history of music and where things have come from, and the weird and wonderful side of
Yeah.
everything that's gone on over the past kind of 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah, one of
So,
the things I've always admired about him, and then I'll show a couple clips like I promised, folks, so hang in there. One of the many things I've always admired about him is once he started his solo career, um, by the third album, you can, and even the first two, my point is he started to just reinvent himself album after album after album after album, but yet it's
yeah,
still Robert, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
And this album here, Saving Grace, is just another amazing example. It so much of it reminds me of the real country western music.
yeah, yeah,
Country today is, I don't mean to insult anybody, but it's basically rock pop with a twang and some traditional country sounds like the lap steel,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then the lyrics and the stories are of that ilk. But what you folks have done is more harkens back to not just like the, Blind Willie and some of the other influences, but like the old Gene Autry stuff, you
Yeah.
know, the old, it takes me way back, you know,
Yeah.
to what real country western sounded like in a lot of ways, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of without going into analyzing the industry and music and society and everything at the minute. It's this thing of we've come so far, and the world has become so small with everything being so, you know, you can see what's going on across the other side of the world in some mountain or some forest with a YouTube clip from somebody that's
Yeah.
traveling, and it might only be a small insight, but I think we've got this thing now where a sound or a genre has got criteria to meet, and before it was kind of the criteria was what dictated what the genre is implied to be, whereas now it's flipped around and it's kind of you meet the criteria to X, Y, and Z. And I think that's something about this project, which is nice that you've picked up on. Is and we're lucky to be in a position to do it. You know, I don't dispute that.
Yeah.
But the fact that there was and is no criteria or agenda or anything with what we're doing here, it
Yeah.
is, without being too hippie about it, is kind of just a genuine expression and appreciation and look back at what it was, what was organic and what was true. And you know, I
Yeah.
mean, we've brought it along a bit when we use pedals and effects and whatnot, but the essence, it kind of has to be there, and that thought sits a lot in my mind when it comes to me considering how I approach playing on the project. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool. The music, the album really does respect those traditions, even though you're interpreting it and
Yeah.
presenting it with
Oh,
some
that's
more
great. Yeah.
modern tools mixed in with the traditional ones, which is great.
Yeah.
So let's see two clips. These are both excerpts of Everybody's Song.
Breaking everybody's heart, singing everybody's song.
Here's clip two. And now I spy with my eye what he's playing. It's a quattro like that one right there.
Absolutely. That's the
Yeah,
one.
I've got
So-
one. It's a great instrument. I fell in love with that by the influence of John Anderson of Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got that like in 2003 or 4
Oh,
and
cool.
just love it. And it took, I didn't notice that when I first previewed the clip before you joined me. But man, he's ripping that up. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He
band.
definitely gives it some there. It's always
Yeah.
a good fun moment, that is, because there's you know, we've got a lot of freedom in that particular. There's a lot of freedom through the whole stuff, to be honest with you. But that is, I'm secretly having a bit of fun because we extend it, the sections a little bit, and I
Yeah.
have to give a little cue, and I'm trying to catch them out, but I've still yet to catch them out. They're always on the ball.
That's great. How did this come about, Ollie?
The project itself?
Project, yeah, with
Yeah,
Robert and everything. Yeah.
um, it was really, I don't want to use the word, but organic. It
Yeah.
was,
Did
you
he
know,
see you guys play at a wedding or something? Or no?
I think Robert had seen us with Susie and the Backbeats,
Yeah.
which was our band back in the day before this, and
Mhm.
Yeah, he'd seen us at one of his local pubs, and at the time, I mean, it was nothing more than a moment, really. We were obviously kind of excited he was there, and he stuck around and watched a bit of it. And he come off, and I think, you know, he said to Suze and a couple of the guys, said, you know, this is really good. Keep doing what you're doing. And that was that. But, you know, obviously we'd met him and said hello and had a little brief chat with him. And then, you know, it really is all a bit of a blur. There was something to do with Robert wanted to do a kind of one-off throwaway gig for a friend of his. And he just wanted to jump up and do a few numbers to surprise him for his birthday or something, or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so Matt and Tony and Robert had been talking in the pub, and they've gone, okay, yeah, we'll get together. They started working through some tracks and some songs. He said, I'd like to sing with a female vocalist. I'm missing the fun with bouncing off another vocalist.
Yeah.
So I think Tony or Matt said, you know, I've got Susie's number, give her a bell. She's really good. Maybe have a try out with that. Long story short, she went along, and she doesn't drive, so I was driving her and dropping her off, Mr. Chauffeur.
Convenient.
So I was, taking her to the gig, the rehearsals for this gig, and they did the one gig. It all went great. There was a different drummer with them at that time because it was just kind of a scratch thing, a one-off thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did the gig, all went great. Well, it ironically, it didn't, because Susie had pretty much completely lost her voice, and was on the day could barely even speak, but she managed to rest and just get out some really low notes. So she still turned up and did the gig.
Oh,
Robert
wow.
enjoyed it, even with all its trials and tribulations. And in the end, he said, we've got to do this again and kind of do it properly, where we can actually enjoy it and sing together. And so there it was. I got a call from Tony going, Robert wants to carry on. Susie got a call, want to meet up. And Tony said to me, next time you come, bring some sticks and just jump on the kit. And I did. And that was that. And it was just, like I say, quite an organic thing, because we was just going, should we meet up next week just to, we've got a WhatsApp group, and we're constantly sharing tracks and songs and all sorts that we come across. And so we were just meeting up to listen and jam and play these songs and have some fun exploring it all. And little by little, it developed, and here we are today. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Can't wait to see the show. Let's talk about your journey. When did you start playing drums?
I suppose because my dad was a drummer with a lot of bands. I mean, he was out still about 5-6 nights a week with every Tom, Dick and Harry on the scene.
Really?
But yeah, so I was always kind of having a clatter at them. But I mean, in my early years, I was actually a classical ballet dancer.
Really?
And I was very fortunate enough to go and study at what's called the Royal Ballet School over here, which is kind of tied with Covent Garden and the Royal Ballet and all of that stuff. Quite a prestigious school, and I got in there on a full scholarship. I wouldn't have been able to go otherwise. And so my kind of pinnacle years of where you might get a bug and overindulge and really feed that new excitement and the exploration. I was in quite a strict environment. It was a boarding school. We had a lot of restrictions outside of it because of the physical aspect of the dance. So we weren't allowed to ride bikes in the summer holidays because you was working the wrong muscles and all of these restrictions.
Yeah.
So I used to come home on weekends, holidays, Easter holidays, summer holidays, and sneak under my dad's duffel coat and into all of these pubs and clubs around.
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of knew what it was all about, but never really got to indulge. So I had lessons and things when I was at school, but I couldn't really. It was really focused. You was always pulled back to the dance. And then at 16, 17, I had a pretty severe injury on my knee. And it would have meant a couple of years of serious rehab with no guarantees of a professional career afterwards, or not a long one anyway. But in all honesty, all through that, whilst I enjoyed the dance and did did what I did there and gave a lot of my time to it, there was always something in the back of my head, after going to the gigs and whatever it was. Do I really want to be doing this? I feel like music's my thing. So eventually that injury happened, and long story short, it kind of eventually cut the cord, if you will. And I got to say, right, this is what I'm going to go into. And from about 15, 16, I started to take it seriously. I'd obviously had lessons from the age of 11, and I had a clatter before then, but that was really the start of it.
That's awesome. And who were some of your influences? I know you mentioned the kind of stuff your dad was into. Do you have influences that are outside of what people might expect?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, the list is endless for influences, really. And especially because of the way I came out of that real strict environment and into music, I kind of just went and overdosed on everything that I didn't have chance to before. So as exhilarating as that was, I kind of didn't get to absorb too much of the knowledge behind these things. It was just more fulfilling an emotion at a time. And so the list is endless. I mean, my main inspiration, I would say, or my favorite drummer to listen to would be somebody like Jerry Conway, who was with Cat Stevens and Fairport Convention and people. But for me, growing up, Cat Stevens was just such a huge part of my musical thing. Just everything about him, the songs, the arrangements. And Jerry was obviously the drummer on a lot of that. Bernard Purdie as well, huge.
Yeah. Oh,
influence.
yeah. All over the place, his playing.
Oh man, he's just insane. He's like a steam train. He's just too cool for school, and and he's huge. Obviously, you've got John Bonham, which I think anybody who holds a pair of sticks has been influenced or moved in some way.
Yeah.
But it goes on. Steve Gadd's a massive influence, and they're all from different parts of my time. So I tend to jump quite extreme. So I didn't really get into the jazz thing and the traditional thing till I started doing a bit of teaching in my early 20s or mid 20s. And then obviously the kind of, you're aware of people like Buddy Rich and Joe Morello, all of these players, but unless you're actually studying it and existing in those worlds of music, you don't really know too much about them until you do.
Right.
That makes sense. But
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an endless list. It must be 30, 40, 50 people I could reel off right now who are inspirations in all different ways.
That's awesome. What's and by the way, John Bonham, huge influence on me. I got to see Led Zeppelin in 1977, which was just amazing.
So lucky.
Yeah. And it was my, a lot of people my age are actually a little older. Their moment was seeing the Beatles on TV, and that made them want to become a musician.
Yeah.
I was already playing drums for about 7 years and had no sights to become a professional musician, which is weird thinking back now. Like, why didn't I? But I wanted to be an oceanographer. But then my dad took me at 14 to see Led Zeppelin, and I realized, that could be a career. Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Absolutely.
That's what happened. And I toured for the first time a year later at 15.
Excellent.
So the impact that man's playing had on any live recording. I collected bootlegs. I've got probably 24 Led Zeppelin bootlegs over the years. On film, the records, just his sound, his feel, his groove, his everything. And he wasn't just the basher that everyone makes him out to be. When you listen to things like Down by the Seaside, there's such a lovely song that rocks out in the bridge, but he had a lot of delicate elements to his playing.
He was so multidimensional. I think if you have an opinion on him, to say that he was just a good hitter, a good rocker, I mean, that's just purely because people that say that might not just have seen what he's capable of, because I mean, the man could swing jazz, you name it.
Yeah.
He had his way, and he was just one in a million, and the rest, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was just something uniquely special about how he it was almost like the Midas touch, if you will, for drums. He just knew how, when, where, in
Right.
every way
Where to put it
exactly,
and
you
where to
know,
leave it out.
that's the big thing. That
Yeah.
is the big thing, and I think again, I mean, I speak to a lot of people, obviously more so now than ever, um, about Bonham, and it's amazing just how much more simple he is when you actually sit and listen. It's not the technique simple, or I'm talking about kind of busyness. So
Yeah.
he very rarely marked clean cut transitions, you know, where you would mark them. It wasn't
Yeah.
a fill at the round of 8, and you know, he'd set
Right.
things up or come in afterwards. He'd just have these ways, and it surprises me and always has, because a lot of people go, "Oh, he's so good and he could do all," and it was like, yeah, but he never really. You're pretty much consolidating what he's done across all them
Yeah.
years and all them albums, and condensing it to say that. And really, it was so much more diverse. You know
So
what I
much
mean?
more. I
And
think
so much more simple.
yeah, most of those people I think are simply not familiar with the catalog,
Yeah,
and just because for whatever reason, and it's all fair, of course, it's just not their thing. So they're judging something they're not really familiar with. They're judging one cobblestone on this beach of all this variety of music he was able to create.
exactly.
And one of the other things that always has fascinated me, and not just with John and not just with Led Zeppelin, but all those great bands that came out within that few year period, you know, everybody from Cream, Led Zeppelin, Vanilla Fudge, Yes, ELP, there was nothing for them to copy. You know, there
No?
was no rock, there was no prog, but the biggest thing about all that, they were so young. They were
Yeah,
so young. How did
yeah,
that all happen with literally a generation of musicians that all of a sudden something changed?
yeah, yeah.
And I think it's kind of fair to say, and then it went away. Well, I don't think we'll see that again. I've said this
No.
before, maybe some people are tired of hearing me saying it, but there's some great music now, but we'll never see that many amazing musicians all creating otherworldly music at the same time that
Yeah.
has such a cultural impact on people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I mean, essentially, it was like a musical Big Bang, if you will.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah,
where everything as we know it today, or as most of the world knows it today. That's kind of where it all really began. And you're
yeah.
not wrong. It was such a short-lived thing.
And they were all between 19 and 23 years old on average in that era,
Yeah,
67 to 70. You know, they're all kids.
absolutely.
Like I got grandkids older than that.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
what? It's so
yeah.
crazy.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, when you look at that, pretty much sums up again where we've kind of come to, because you know that it's amazing when you look at, and I'm only talking about kind of the commercial side of it now, what's given to people, or forced upon people. Um, it's amazing how much, when you look back at it, it reflects the state of society.
Yeah.
So when you go back to that time, society was adventurous, it was open, it was fearless, it could face being challenged, you know,
Yeah.
emotionally, intellectually.
Yeah.
We've progressed to this, or I mean, this is probably, you know, this is only my opinion, but we seem to have progressed to this kind of state now where people are challenged left, right, and centre with every little thing. Not that it hasn't always been there, but at the minute it's quite extreme across the world, and especially, you know, uh, apart from the lucky ones, it's something that it's almost like it's a direct reflection. The music today isn't challenging. It isn't overly emotional. You know, it's just enough to let you know what the emotion is, but it daren't go any further. You know, and again, I'm
Yeah.
only applying this to the commercial world.
Yeah.
And again, it just reflects the state of society, I think. And it's quite an interesting thing when you look back and line these things up, how much
Yeah.
you go, oh, actually, yeah, when you consider what was going on at that time.
All that makes sense. The
Yeah.
Vietnam War, there's all this angst, the whole thing against the government. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that does have something to do with it. And those who were creative and invested in their craft needed an outlet, and they used it, and
Yeah.
boom, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
a couple of comments I want to get to here. Steve says regarding the album, really enjoy the bluesy feels, especially on the track. Yeah, Too Far From You.
Yeah.
Michael Morganlander has a row of emojis of drums and the rock and roll sign. Very cool.
Awesome.
Steve, if you don't mind, or actually I'll put the cover up again for those who didn't see it. We're going back to talking about this album. Can you please unpack a bit of the process? You don't have to get too granular, Ollie, but what was the process? Did Robert write these reinterpretations of those songs himself? Was it a collaboration with the band? How was he hands-on in the recording and production process? Kind of tell us what that experience was like. Or did he go through some stuff and say, "No, go do your work," or like what went on there?
I think most of what we get to is a collaboration. I mean, Robert has a really special way of directing things. I mean, it is a really special and kind of a free environment to put your own emotion and your own stamp on things and approach things the way that you would naturally want to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in terms of me personally, with how he works with me, and in terms of drum parts and the setting in the band, it tends to come from, I'll start with kind of a full groove or something, or we'll be chatting, and as any band does, try this, get that. And then once the full groove is in for me behind the kit, I then dissect it and try and filter down the groove rather than build it. And that's very much through Robert's direction, and I think he's had that kind of impact and influence on each of us throughout. So yeah, we tend to, Robert will kind of come in, or someone else will come in and go, this is a good song to look at. The lyrics, really mean something. There's something going on here, or the melody's stunning, or whatever the reason is. And then we all just jump in and start playing different things until Robert goes, yeah, well, I'm liking that, let's go for that. Suze will pipe in and start with some harmonies and some direction of her own. And then you get a lot of references. So, and for somebody like myself who's not a scholar, so I'm terrible with names, years, and I think that goes back to what I said earlier, with the fact that I just come out and kind of OD'd on music because I've had that restriction. So I didn't quite get to absorb the things that I perhaps should have, and most likely would have. So yeah, you'll get some kind of reference, play like such and such, or can you get that feel off that album from such and such? And sometimes I'm good and I can recall it, or I'll have knowledge of the song. More often than not, I'm kind of jumping on YouTube trying to, and then that for me opens up this whole world of,
that's awesome,
and it's incredible. But yeah, the actual piecing together of it's very much a collaboration, and then Robert just has this wonderful way of then shaping these things and pulling you into these places, and it is very much, you wouldn't, I'll say this, a lot of the time we've kind of kicked back and gone, oh yeah, that's it, now we're cooking, and Robert's been the one to come in and go, still not quite there, still not quite right, this and that. And then, once you get over the pride element of, I thought this was really good, you don't say it, but we all have, we're not sensitive anyway. We say it as it is, and nobody goes off crying, but you still
no one's storming out of the room shouting, "What's with this old guy?
No,
Why is he so cranky?"
no, not at all, nothing like that. But it's one of them, you kind of have that moment, oh, I thought that was cooking, and then once you break past that and you're forced to explore again, just in this other realm, and you go, oh man, he was right again, that's where we need to be. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a cool process. Yeah,
And there's
definitely.
got to be, in that last thing that you explained there, there's got to be some really neat inspiration in that, where if he's saying that, it means he believes you can do it better. And if he's saying that, that's got to
Yeah.
lift you up, right? And go, well, okay, here we go, you know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I might get a slap for this, but there's times that we get pulled to some places, and in the moment we go there willingly sometimes, and then we reflect on it the week after and have a little playback of what we were playing around with, and we just go, what the hell were we all thinking? And so it's not always right, but I think it's the fact that we're all prepared to, when we're pulled in a direction, or pushed into a direction, or a new kind of pool of exploration, none of us resist, and that includes Robert. He's in no way resistant to go on where we propose. It
That's
just so
awesome.
happens that his 9 times out of 10 ends up being the better place to go. So,
Yeah. Do you have um a funny anecdotal story about Robert you can share? Something that you experienced, whether just hanging out, whether rehearsing, whether recording?
oh man, too many, too many. You'll have to let me come back to you on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think about that. And nothing, of course, that we'd want you to get in trouble for,
No,
but whatever you'd be comfortable
no,
sharing.
yeah. I'll have a little ponder on that and see if I can get something
Okay.
come to the front of my head.
Okay, cool. And while you're thinking about that, I want to tell everybody the tour starts soon here in North America. I'm looking to go see them in LA on the 22nd of November, which weirdly seems right around the corner. It's
Yeah.
it's hardly even a month and a half away, or that's just crazy. Where did all the time go this year? But what a great way to close out the year, with going on tour with this wonderful new album. We'll show the cover again for anyone who missed it. And I was saying earlier that the the album sounds just like the cover looks. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how to explain that, but I think people can imagine that, and put it on and go, wow, it does look like. When I saw the cover first, I thought, this looks very kind of old school country western. And then I put on the songs, I'm like, this sounds very old school,
Yeah.
with the modern, layers and icing and pixie dust that you guys, of course, are adding, and Susie's voice and everything.
Yeah.
Got the quattro in there, the banjo, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, Robert on vocals with Susie. It's a great piece of work. How has it been interpreting it live? How's that been?
Well, in all honesty, it was the opposite way around, because obviously we'd been playing live for 6 years thereabouts, and I mean these were tracked intermittently, and then some reworked, some redone,
Yeah.
all across, not right from the beginning, but I think COVID kind of, when COVID come along and we was forced into a corner and we all had to lock down, we kind of managed to get some setup that met all the criteria and everything else. So we
Right.
were working out in the Cotswolds, outdoors, and I mean, I think a good few numbers on the album were at least 3 of them, I think, were tracked entirely outdoors. With
Wow.
big space between us and whatever else. But
Mhm.
that was when we started to kind of really get into ourselves as a band, because like I said, the early days, we was literally just meeting and playing with no real intent. Then we was doing some smaller gigs.
Right.
So yeah, when lockdown came, it was a chance to actually explore and get into the music ourselves, and without worrying about a gig coming up next week. Not that it was ever
Yeah.
a worry, because they were so, low key, and it
Yeah.
was nothing, and still is really the main reason is fun, especially for Robert. So yeah, I've completely lost my trail of thought now. You have to excuse me.
No, it was
Um,
great.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
The whole opposite, when I asked the question of how it has been interpreting it live, and you say it's kind of
that
been
was
like
it.
the other
Thank
way
you.
around.
Yeah, so no, I mean, we started it off live, and the problem that we faced was how do we kind of capture, because what we got going on stage was kind of a really powerful and delicate thing to quite extremes, you know,
Yeah.
and also the selection of songs that we were playing, it was so broad, and I mean, it still is on the album. You can hear that it goes
Oh yeah.
through quite a few different areas. But
Yeah.
yeah, the oh, excuse me, I've just got really bad cramp. I need to drink more water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But it has all those different shades of like a sunset, through the album. It's not all one thing.
no,
And
no.
that's the
And
thing about music. It's hard to, you just gotta listen to it. You
yeah,
know?
well, we had to kind of rein it back a bit because obviously you can get away with a bit more live. You can be that extreme, and
Yeah.
you can to an extent, you know, on record as well. But you've still got to kind of be aware and conscious of all the other kind of things that go on with it, you know, compression once it's brought down and all of this stuff. And also, we didn't want it to be kind of a direct comparison. They are essentially two separate entities, the live show and the album.
Yeah. That's
We
great.
ended up, I think, although we may not have said it directly, we kind of ended up agreeing that they are two different things, and we're not going to really be able to capture what we do live and put that across on the record. And equally, it gave us an opportunity then to reapproach these songs from a different standpoint with a bit more of a delicate approach, which was really, really interesting, especially
That's neat.
on the drums.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Before I ask you the last question, one more shot at a quick anecdotal story about Robert. Something funny that happened along the way.
Oh man.
Don't feel
It
put on
really,
the spot.
because we're constantly having good fun and laughing a lot. There's a lot of funny things that go on with us all. Yeah, you've got me on that one. That's the one
Okay.
thing that I can't get to, unfortunately.
No
Nothing,
worries.
nothing that I could say.
Yeah. Nothing fit for a family show. That makes sense. And
Nah.
that's okay. So now it's time for the Ollie Jefferson Fun Fact segment. That question is, when you're not touring, rehearsing, recording, when you're not doing anything related to music, what do you like to do completely outside of music? Whether it's a hobby, whether it's how you relax, whether it's what you do for adventure, what do you like doing completely outside of music?
Um, I do. I love to be out in nature, and we've got a wonderful husky Labrador mix
Nice.
puppy. Well, she's not a puppy anymore. She's 4.5 now. Along with a couple of cats, but they do their own thing. But yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, Susie and myself are just fanatics. We love to get out to all the hills, you know, the hillsides, go on long walks, rivers,
Nice.
streams, and just get out the house, get into nature, find a
That's
bit of
great.
stillness. So I'd say that's probably the biggest. If there was something other than music to get up for in the morning, it'd be to just take a nice long stroll, fresh
That's
air,
great.
trees, nature.
That's great. We are deep into the dog thing too. We have 2 cats and 4 dogs.
Oh,
The
amazing.
newest dog we got a couple months ago, and he's coming up on 6 months now, and the other dogs are 3, 4, and 5. And it changes everything when you have furries around.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
vibration's different. It's just a totally different thing, and we just love it. It's great.
Oh man, they remind you how you should live. I know that much.
Yeah, yeah, and what's important, and
Yeah,
all of that. I saw this wonderful meme recently, that said, there was a picture of a dog on a bed, and it said, "They're only with you a short period of time. Just let them on the bed." At least
yeah.
that's how the voice read it in my head, and it's like, "Yeah, so what?" "Okay, so the puppy pooped on the floor. I can clean it up, so what?" He'll
It's
grow
true,
out of
isn't it?
it. I hope. I haven't, but I hope he does. And it's and
Love it.
it's those little things that you just gotta like, so what? They bring so much more
Yeah.
than chewing this up or taking a dump over there or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know
100%. No,
yeah,
they're incredible souls. I
yeah.
wouldn't be without one.
And you know that dogs can comprehend on average up to 150 words
Oh,
of
really? That many?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't
And
know that.
it's amazing what
That's more than me.
I know, me too. I started looking it up because they're it just seemed to be that their comprehension level was so high. Like, how did they know that this, that, and the other? So I looked it up. It's at 150 words.
Wow.
Cats are like, I think 80 or 120, a little bit less, but still like a lot. And
Yeah.
there's some things that we can't say out loud. And not only can we not just spell it, we have to spell those things
Yeah.
slowly. So like I have two of them in here. So I would have to spell, if I wanted to say this following word to you, I'd have to spell it as R-I-D-E.
Yeah.
If I spell it any faster than that, they're jumping up like, okay, well, let's go.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
It's
No, it
the most
blows my mind. We do the spelling thing, you
yeah,
know, for I don't want
texting
to
each
say any
other.
trigger words just in case, but yeah, exactly that.
Texting each other with the dog right there.
Oh,
It's
brilliant.
fascinating. Well, great. Thanks for sharing that with us. Hang on the line with me after we
Yeah.
disconnect from the live. And again, thank you so much for making time on a evening
Pleasure.
out there at home in Birmingham, England. We look forward to seeing you on tour. And folks, thank you for joining Ollie Jefferson and myself here on the live on Facebook and YouTube, or if you're watching it on the archive, anywhere where this is put, we appreciate it very much. Keep following for more fun. We're closing out the year with a ton of interviews, lots of stuff. And we got our music themed game shows happening still, all kinds of fun stuff. So thank you, folks. We'll see you soon. And everybody wave to Ollie.
Thanks.
Wave, everyone.
Thanks
There's
for
two
having me.
people.